Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a throwaway account in the True Off My Chest subreddit. The post is titled, "I'm in love with my baby's mom, but she wants to leave." So I met Mila about 4 years ago at a bar. Long story short, it was a mutual friend's birthday. We were at this bar and we had both just gotten out of long-term relationships. Hers was 5 years, mine was 4. A lot of drinking later, it was hella awkward waking up naked on the birthday guy's couch with Mila. But honestly, that wasn't even the wildest thing that happened that night. The birthday guy, he did something way worse. Anyway, after all that, Mila and I were both super awkward about it. She legit looked like she wanted to crawl under a rock. Neither of us wanted anything serious since we had just broken up with our exes, but we still swapped numbers and went our separate ways. Fast forward about 3 months. Mila texted me asking to grab coffee. I thought it was kind of weird, but I figured she might want to go on a date or something. When I got there, she looked like she'd been crying. As soon as I sat down, she just started bawling. Turns out she was pregnant. She hadn't realized because she was super stressed and tired, but I was the only person she'd slept with. My whole life flipped upside down. We did a DNA test and it was mine. Then she moved in with me because she was sharing a room with a roommate. The guest room became hers and my office is now Andy's room, but we call him Andy. Having a kid wasn't exactly in my plans, but since Andy came along, my life has been better, honestly. Over the years, Mila and I never really had a romantic relationship, except for this one time she kissed me after Andy was born. We get along, I support them, I'm paying for Mila's grad school, we split the chores, and I'm always there for whatever she needs. So in November, Andy's going to turn 3. We've been planning his birthday. It's around Halloween, so he and his friends are all going to dress up. He wants to go as Bingo from Bluey. During one of our talks, Mila asked if I wanted her to move out. She said now that Andy's 3, we could co-parent separately, and I could even get a girlfriend if I wanted to. I just went blank and said no and went to my room. Here's the thing, having Andy is everything to me, but I'm also genuinely in love with her. She's smart, beautiful, caring, thoughtful, kind, dedicated. She's literally the most perfect person ever, but I'm way too scared to tell her. We have a kid together and I'm terrified of ruining everything between us as parents and friends. I don't know if I should tell her how I feel or just keep pretending everything's fine so I don't mess up what we have. I understand that OP is scared to talk about his feelings with this woman, but I feel that not saying anything is worse. She already has plans to move out, so I don't really see any negatives in just confessing. To be honest, my gut tells me that she probably feels the same way deep down. They've lived together for about 3 years as co-parents, and neither has developed a serious, long-lasting relationship with anyone else during that time. User X King said, "Brother, you've got to tell her, because if you don't, someone else is going to see what you see in her, and at that point, it'll be too late. You already have a starting point. Just use what you wrote at the beginning of the last paragraph and go from there. Don't let fear block your happiness." A deleted user said, "Tell her. She may feel the same way, she may not. But the reality is that your situation won't last long term as it is. Eventually, one or both of you will meet someone else." Update. Quick recap, Mila and I had a baby together after a one-night thing. Ever since, we've been living together and I'm in love with her. She's absolutely stunning, breathtaking even, but I've been too scared to tell her how I feel because I didn't want to mess up our co-parenting situation. So I left work early, picked up Andy from nursery, and dropped him off at my mom's. I bought some flowers, cleaned up the house while she was in class, and texted her saying she didn't need to pick up Andy and to just come home because we needed to talk. When she got home, she looked at me with her big eyes wide open, and the first thing she asked about was our kid. I hugged her for a while, but she went into full mommy bear mode and kept asking about our baby boy. After I reassured her that he was with my mom and totally fine, she finally calmed down. I brought her to the living room, gave her the bouquet, and started talking. It was a long conversation. I told her how I've been scared of ruining things and how it hurt when she asked if I wanted her to leave. She admitted she was afraid she was messing up my life, that she feels like a burden sometimes, and even blames herself for ruining my life with the pregnancy. I shut that down quickly. I never wanted kids, but honestly, since Andy and Mila came into my life, everything's been way better. It's been the best, most challenging mistake I've ever made. She also said she likes me too and has felt that way since she was pregnant, but wasn't sure if it was just the hormones. After the baby, she felt embarrassed to say anything because she didn't feel comfortable in her body anymore. She never got back to her pre-pregnancy body and thought I wouldn't find her attractive. But to me, she's the most beautiful and hot woman on the planet. She also admitted she'd get jealous when I went on dates, even though she knew it didn't make sense because we weren't a thing. Honestly, if she went on dates, I'd be dying of jealousy too. We talked for a long time and even got into some deeper, more personal stuff. By the time we were done, it was late. We went to this small restaurant near our place for the dinner. No wine because I was driving, but it was amazing. We talked about life and random stuff. At the end of the night, I got a few kisses in the car. Like we didn't even live together, which was kind of cute. Then we watched a horror movie, but she fell asleep cuddling me. It was a day full of wins. Final update. I decided to give you all an update, but first a quick note. Please use protection. I read some concerning comments about my situation. Yeah, I was pretty drunk and reckless and things could have turned out way worse. Don't be like me. Alright, here's what's been going on these past few months. Andy's birthday was amazing. Everyone showed up in costumes and the kids loved it. Andy dressed as Bingo, I went as Bandit, and Mila was chilly. Andy was over the moon that we all dressed up, but what melted my heart was when we were getting ready in the bedroom and my little guy said, "I always wanted this." I think before our dynamic didn't really allow for these sweet family moments, and it makes me so happy that my son gets to experience this now. So yeah, we're officially dating now and it's been nothing short of amazing. She's happy, my little guy is happy, and nothing makes me happier than seeing them like this. Has it been perfect? Nah, it's the start of a relationship with a lot of baggage. We're doing couples therapy because we've been living together and acting as a family for way longer than we've been an actual couple. The first month was kind of rough. I felt awkward about being intimate at home and so did she, mostly because of the family dynamic we had before. But I think we're building something really good. I don't have much else to update for now, but I'll definitely share if anything new happens. I told her about this account, so to the hottest woman alive, you've got my heart. This next post was made in the relationship advice subreddit by a user named Lady Sora. The post is titled, "My fiance bought a car without talking to me first. I asked for space to think. What do I say when we talk again? My fiance was in a car accident recently. He's fine, but his car is totaled. The mechanic said there's no way to fix it. My fiance needs a car for work, so he's been looking into car loans. Over dinner, he told me that due to his bad credit, he can't get a good loan. I have a high credit score, so he asked if I'd be willing to co-sign the loan with him. It caught me off guard, so I told him to give me a few days to think about it. I called my dad for advice. He said that he thinks it's a bad idea since if my fiance doesn't pay on time, they'll come after me and it will ruin my credit. I'm on the fence. I want to help, but I can't ignore my father's logic. Should I co-sign the loan or listen to my dad? Update. I didn't know how to update, but something serious happened. The morning after I made my original post, my fiance went out and bought a new car. I was at the mall around noon when he messaged me saying he went ahead and got a car. I was stunned. We started talking and he said he felt bad putting me in that position, so he decided to get whatever loan he could and bought a car with it. I can 100% say I have never been so angry with him. I'm happy I don't have to worry about co-signing anymore, but I feel betrayed. We agreed to wait 3 days before making a decision, but he just went ahead and did this without saying anything to me. That's always been my biggest complaint about him, his impulsiveness. He just jumps right into anything without thinking. Another thing I'm angry about is the actual car. Instead of going to a small shop and getting a cheap used car, he went to a big dealership. He didn't get a brand new car, but it's way fancier than what he needs. The loan is also about $23K. I told him not to talk to me and to give me a few days to think. I'm just so frustrated. Why couldn't he just tell me that he decided he didn't want me to co-sign a loan with him anymore? Why didn't he involve me in choosing a car? We are getting married, so I'd like to be part of these decisions. User Mountain Goldfinch said, "The biggest financial decision you will ever make is who you marry. Do with that information what you will." User Coming in the Nile said, "Don't make major purchases without consulting your significant other. It's poison for your relationship." Also, a pro tip for car shopping: buy a model the second year it comes out. For example, buy a 2024 model car in 2025. In year 1, there are lots of production issues and errors. By year 2, those issues get smoothed out, and production ramps up with high-quality parts. Starting in year 3, the company will begin cutting costs and ordering parts from cheaper producers, which leads to tolerating more errors. User FireSize has said, "I know Reddit has a bad reputation for telling people to get out of their relationships at the drop of a hat, but seriously, she needs to leave this relationship." This final post was made by a throwaway account and is titled, "My brother has become obsessed with my fiancé of 2 years. I caught him stealing dirty pictures of her off of my phone. Got worse and worse. This whole thing is really messing with my head. I met my Rachel the first week of college. We were each other's first everything, pretty much. I actually converted to Judaism because of her. I'm not really that religious, but I liked the way her family felt, and I felt like it gave me a good way of looking at and living life. We're not too serious about it. Anyway, she's heart-achingly beautiful. She gets hit on every time we go out. It used to be a problem. I would get jealous sometimes, but I mainly got over it, and now it kind of makes me feel good in an ego-boosting way. It feels nice knowing that people find her attractive and that she finds me attractive. I haven't felt threatened by a guy in a while. We go to college in my hometown. My brother Jim recently graduated and asked to come live with me and my girlfriend. I asked if my girlfriend was okay with it. She said yes, so we let him come. My brother is different from me. He didn't play any sports. My older brother and I were on the college basketball team until he graduated last year. Jim is also shorter and a little heavier. Honestly, my older brother and I think he's a product of an affair because he's also a lot darker skinned than us. He's also a little antisocial, listens to a lot of metal and screamo, and doesn't seem to have many friends. Everything was fine until he walked in on us. My fiance and I have a lot of sex. Before he moved in, it was a couple of times a day. Whenever he leaves to do something, we usually take that as a chance to be intimate. We did something stupid and were in the living room when he got back. I had forgotten that I had given him his own key. Anyway, he walked in and stared at us with the widest eyes I've ever seen. My girlfriend noticed him first and freaked out. We quickly got dressed and apologized to him. He said it was fine. Thinking back now, it wouldn't be surprising if he heard us a few times at night or the music we played while we were together. Anyway, things were fine until about a week later when Jim asked me about sexting girls and if I had any advice for him. He told me a girl was offering to send pictures. I told him just to never ask for them or pressure the girl into doing it. Never say anything too crass when complimenting her and never share them. He asked if I've ever sexted, and I told him a couple of times. Now I realize this was just him manipulating me into answering questions for him. 2 days later, he asked to borrow condoms. I told him I didn't have any, and he said, "That's right, you weren't wearing one with Rachel." This freaked me out, so I asked him if he was looking at my and said it was weird that he would look for something like that. He quickly apologized, saying he noticed it when we jumped up at the sight of him and that he didn't look for it. I believed him, went to get some condoms at the store, gave them to him, explained that the only reason I didn't wear them was because we were both tested and willing to deal with the consequences, and told him if I ever found out he didn't use one, I'd beat the shit out of him. I also offered to take him to get the HPV vaccine. He accepted and we went. 5 days ago, I lost my phone. I was freaking out, tearing the apartment upside down looking for it. When I went into my brother's room, he jumped out of bed and hid something underneath the covers. Deciding to give him some lighthearted teasing to feel better about losing my phone, I reached under the blanket for whatever he was hiding, and there was my phone. I have to travel a lot for basketball, and while I was away, Rachel would send me pictures of her naked and videos of her my brother was emailing them to himself, along with a couple of pictures of her that weren't as risque. Furious, I started shoving him around, but I stopped myself before I did anything too serious. I immediately made him go through his room, and there was one of her bras hidden under his bed along with some. I then told him to open his laptop and wait in the living room while I looked at it. I wanted to make sure I deleted any and all pictures of Rachel. There weren't any that I could find, so I got on his email and deleted the stuff he had sent to himself. Then, just to be safe, I checked his internet history. This is what really shocked me. He had gone on some dating/hookup forum and asked for advice on getting with his brother's fiance. A few days later, he claimed that he had gotten with her and was updating regularly, like some kind of a pseudo blog. He started it when he first moved in, basing some of it on real life. I'll give a couple of examples. She looks so miserable when she's with him. I screwed her good when she got done with the loser. Screwing her with condoms he bought me. God, her tits look great out of these. The rest were images off Google, close-ups of sex. Those were based on the things I described earlier. That morning, he promised some pics, the ones he was stealing off my phone. He had already posted pictures of her from Facebook, including one in a bikini and a few from a website of my fiance's friend who makes dresses and sells them. On his computer, he also had a letter to her asking her to leave me and be with him. It was so bizarre. Apparently, he hates me. He insulted me constantly and said that she would be happier with him and that she was the most beautiful girl in the world to him. I wiped his hard drive to make sure there was nothing else of hers, checked his phone, gave him $200 in case I deleted anything during the wipe, gathered everything he would need for class, and threw him out. I told him to go back home and that I was telling Rachel, but I wouldn't say anything to our parents if he didn't make a big deal out of being kicked out. I also told him that if he didn't delete the stuff, I would have to tell mom and dad. I checked later to see if he did, and he had. Telling Rachel was difficult. She cried a lot and told me she felt disgusted. We had an honest talk and decided that the only way we would be comfortable with him back in our lives is if he committed to therapy for a while. I sent him a text telling him as much. Rachel blocked him on her phone, social media, etc., and made her Facebook account private. She seemed really uncomfortable for a couple of days. The first day was the worst. She was too freaked out to be alone. I didn't realize this at first and didn't think much of it when she said she wanted to watch me shoot hoops. We did that, and when I drove her home so I could stop by the school to pick up some documents, she asked to come with me. After that, I planned to play some ball with some guys, and again, she asked to come along. That's when I realized what was going on. I asked her why she didn't want to go home. Apparently, she thought I hadn't taken his key and didn't feel safe. I felt sick to my stomach that my kid brother could make her scared in her own home. She talked to her therapist about it during her weekly appointment the next day. She's getting back to normal now, being her sweet, fun self. We had a pretty good little date night yesterday. However, I still feel lost about this whole situation. What do I do from here? Our parents don't know, but I told my older brother to ask for advice. I'm so mad about it, and irrationally, I'm jealous of him for getting to see her in a way only I ever have. I feel like he stole that from me and her. I also feel bad about what I perceive to be a loss of all love toward him. I don't feel like I care about him at all anymore. I'm considering going to a therapist about this stuff, but I'm not sure. I went to one when I was younger, and I just couldn't communicate. It could end up being an expensive waste of time. I also don't know how to tell my parents that he's not welcome at our wedding and that we won't be coming to family dinners anymore, since I told him I wouldn't tell them if he didn't make a scene about me kicking him out. I'd really appreciate some advice or perspective on this whole thing. Update. My parents aren't going to be coming to our wedding. Rachel and I went to meet my parents at their house, and Jim was brought to my uncle's house while we were there. I told them that I needed to explain why Jim wasn't staying with us anymore. They told me they already knew and that Jim had told them everything. When they said everything, I was doubtful at first, but Jim really had told them everything. I had printed out the draft of the email I was going to send them, and they confirmed that he admitted to everything. He had asked for help. I was stunned. He's already started therapy and is going twice a week. Anyway, throughout this whole time, they were extremely kind to Rachel. They apologized for raising someone who could do such horrible things. I figured this was as good a time as any to make it clear that he can't come to our wedding. My mom instantly started freaking out about this. She said she wanted our whole family there and that we would regret not having him at the wedding for the rest of our lives. I told her that he still makes Rachel uncomfortable, threatened even, and my mom asked if that was true. Rachel said yes. They then said they wouldn't be there without him and that even though they would still love me and support us, they wanted to support Jim too. My parents' original plan was for him to meet us once a month for an hour if we were open to it. I told them that wasn't happening, but I agreed to meet him alone. I sent Jim a text laying down some ground rules. We would meet somewhere public. If he said anything inappropriate, I would leave. No lying. Absolutely no contacting Rachel. I also told him that I'd only give him one more shot, that he had honestly lost my love and would have to work to regain it, that he would likely never have an actual conversation with Rachel again, that I wouldn't ever forget what he did but could maybe move past it, and that there weren't any guarantees. He sent me a text saying, "I understand, I'm so sorry." My parents wanted me to talk to him this Sunday. I told them I wasn't prepared to do that and that I wouldn't start seeing him monthly until next year, after the wedding. I don't know if I expect him to genuinely try to be a better person. I'm not counting on it. At least this way, if he screws up, my parents won't have an excuse to pick him over me. Also, if he does screw up before next year, I'll know that he wasn't sincere. Once we got back home, I asked my fiancée if she was okay with this course of action. She said she liked it. I once again asked if she wanted to involve the authorities, but she said she didn't want to. She was a little upset about my parents not being there, but I calmed her down and we went to bed. I feel great right now, knowing what's going to happen. I guess I'm not that upset about my parents not coming. They did tell me that they still loved me, and our wedding is going to be pretty small and intimate. My older brother is coming back into the country for it. That's all I really cared about, and he said he'd be there no matter what. We're actually going to spend a year with him overseas after we graduate. As for the sexting advice that came up in the comments, Rachel and I had our first real conversation about it. We downloaded Keep Safe. We also decided to go to Best Buy tonight and get a camcorder, so thanks for that. We probably wouldn't have done it if we hadn't had this conversation. Straight up, OP's brother is a weirdo. I'm not a fan of the parents insisting that Jim still be invited to the wedding. Of course, it's totally up to OP and Rachel, but nevertheless, I don't like it. I found it even stranger that OP's parents completely bailed on the wedding as a last resort to pressure him into inviting Jim. Not only is that selfish, but it also comes across as incredibly rude. I find the situation to be really disgusting, and it makes me lose trust. It also makes me view those who support this brother in a different light as well. User Skullbearer said, I'm guessing the brother is going to some religious therapist with a degree from the Theologian College of Bullshit if he's suggesting that subjecting a stalking victim to her stalker is the right course of action. User Lecturekind said, am I the only one weirded out by everyone here? Obviously Jim especially, but it's just so strange how OP goes on and on about how much they have sex, like constantly, and even shares pictures and videos while letting Jim move in with them. Anyone for that matter. He also said he forgot he gave Jim the key when they had sex in the living room. Was OP expecting Jim to just stay outside until they were done if he came home? Jim is a disgusting, creepy weirdo, but even if he wasn't, why would OP invite him to live with them in the first place if they are like this? User Rohini Rambles said, $100 says he's not even going to therapy, just pretending. Just a point to that. OP sounds a bit more angry at his brother for seeing his property on display than he is upset about the violations she's undergone. He's focusing so much on the love lost and doesn't sound quite mad enough as a person would feel if this were real.